This video is going to cover the material on pages Word 58 and 59, which is working with tabs. Tabs allow you to align text at specific locations in a document. A tab stop is a point on the horizontal ruler that indicates the location at which to align text. By default, tab stops are located every ½ inch from the left margin, but you can also set up custom tab stops. And using tabs, you can align text to the left, right, or center of a tab stop, or you can align text at a decimal point or insert a bar character. And if you take a look on table C1, it describes some of the different types of tab stops on there, where you do have your left, center, right tab, decimal tab, and bar tab on there, and why you would use those. Because on a left tab, you'd use it to set the starting position of the text so it runs to the right of the tab stop. With the center, it centers the information across the tab stop as you type. With the right tab on there, it right aligns the text and moves to the left of your tab stop on there. Of course, the decimal tab will set the position of the decimal point so that all the numbers align around that decimal point as you type. And if you have a bar tab, that's going to insert a vertical bar at that tab position. On step 1, it tells us that it says scroll as needed, and then we're going to select the 5-line list that begins with trip, date, and cost. So that's this one right here. And this is definitely a section you want to pay close attention to because it can be very easy to mess up in this area on there, so pay close attention to this video. In step 2, it tells us that we're going to point to the tab indicator, and the tab indicator is all the way over here. It's on top of the vertical ruler, just to the left of the horizontal ruler. And of course, the icon that appears in the tab indicator indicates the active type of tab, and pointing to the tab indicator displays a screen tip. So if I do that here, you'll notice that it should tell me that it is a left tab. And by default, the left tab is the active tab type. And clicking on the tab indicator scrolls through the different types of tabs. So if we go through step 3, it tells us to click the tab indicator to see the available tabs. So there's a left, there's the center, there's the right, there's the decimal, there's the bar, and then you have some additional buttons that's on there as far as adding in some additional indentions, which we're not going to use those at this time. Step 3 tells us that we're going to click the tab indicator on there to see which of the available tab and types, which we've just done that. And it tells us that we want to make the left type, or the left tab, the active type. So it should look like this right here. And then it tells us that we're going to click on the 1-inch mark here on the ruler. So get close to the 1-inch mark and just click. When you click, you'll notice that the same little symbol over here is now onto the ruler. And that shows that that is now has a 1-inch mark on there. That's a new tab stop that's there. We also want to click on the 3.5-inch mark on the tab stop. And now we've added a second tab stop. Now, of course, you'll notice our text hasn't moved yet because we don't have any tabs in place there, but we'll be working on that here shortly. Of course, to remove a tab stop at any point in time, you just drag it up or down off the ruler. So if I was wanting to remove this one, I just click and drag on it and it's going to remove it. And then of course, just to add it back, I just point and click. On step 4, it tells us to click the tab indicator twice so that the right tab icon is active. So if I click on this twice, now there's the right tab indicator. And then it tells me I need to click the 5-inch mark on the horizontal ruler. So I go over here to the 5-inch mark and I'm going to click there. And now a right tab stop is inserted at the 5-inch mark on the horizontal ruler. Step 5 tells us that we have to place the insertion point before the trip. So we're just going to click one time, place our insertion point before the trip, and then it tells me that I need to press the tab key. Now remember, typically the default tab is at ½ inch, but look what it does. It skips over this ½ inch and goes directly to the inch. And that is where we've overridden the default on there and set a specific tab stop for this paragraph here, or the set of 5 paragraphs or 5 lines and that this is going to be where the tab stop is at. Then if I place my insertion point before the dates and hit tab, notice it's jumped all the way over here to this tab stop. And then finally it tells us to place the insertion point before cost and then press tab. So if I put it right before cost, hit tab, notice that now it's right aligned with this text here. And of course, inserting the tab before trip left aligns the text at the 1 inch mark. Inserting the tab before the date left aligns the text at the 3.5 inch mark. And inserting the tab before cost right aligns the cost at the 5 inch mark. In step 6, it tells us we want to insert a tab at the beginning of each of the remaining lines in the list. So we're going to go right before Rosh Hashanah Desert Safari, hit our tab key. Go right to Everest Base Camp Trek, hit our tab key. Right before Cycling, hit our tab key. And right before Inca, and hit our tab key. In step 7, it tells us that we're going to place our tab before each October. So I'm going to place my insertion point right here at October, and I'm going to hit my tab key. And I'm going to do that for each of the different Octobers. Now, of course, you can place the insertion point in a paragraph to see the tab stops for that paragraph on the horizontal ruler. Notice if I click down here, the tab stops appear to disappear, because that's not in the area that the tab stops have been set for. It's only for this 5-line list. On step 8, continuing on step 7, tells us that we want to place a tab before each $sign on here as well. So we place the insertion point right there, and we just align this text. Notice how this looks professional, that this looks nice and neat and easier to read. On step 8, it tells us that we're going to select the 5 lines of tab text. So we select all this text right here. And then it tells us that we're going to drag the right tab stop to the 5 1/2 inch mark on the horizontal ruler. So this is a way of just moving our information. So notice it was on 5 here. I clicked and dragged this over to the 5.5, and notice that it moved all the information in this tab text here to that 5.5 inch mark, while not disturbing the other parts of the information. On step 9, it tells us that we're going to select the last 4 lines of the tab text on there. So I'm just going to select the Rosh Hashanah Desert Safari and all this right here. Now keep in mind as well that when you select information, you're just modifying the tab stops for this selection. As I showed you earlier, if you click away from this, it's going to show that there's no tab stops. You have to have this selected to be able to do this. When I do this, once I have this selected, I need to click on the launcher in the paragraph group on there. Notice that brings up the paragraph dialog box. Down in the lower left hand side, we want to click tabs. And the tabs dialog box will now open. And you can use the tabs dialog box to set tab stops, change the position or alignment of existing tab stops. You can clear tab stops and apply tab leaders to tabs, in which our tab leaders are lines that appear in front of tab text. In step 10, it tells me I want to click on the 3.5 inches right here, and that's the tab stop in this position list box here. And I'm going to click on the second option or 2 option button in the leaders section. So down here in the section, I'm going to click on this little button right here, and that's going to give me this set of leaders right here. Now, anytime I make any changes, I have to click on set on there to make it accept the changes. Because now notice that the 1 inch doesn't have it, and the 5.5 doesn't have it, but the 3.5 should. Next, I'm going to click on the 5.5 and the tab stop position list box. I'm going to click on the second leader on there, the 2 option button in the leader section. I'm going to click on set, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And now notice when I deselect my text that there is my leaders, and they are perfectly spaced out and evenly spaced out that way, so all the dots and everything end all at the same location on there, and that is much more efficient than hitting your period key repeatedly on there. And that concludes the video for pages Word 58 and 59, working with tabs. You may now move on to the next video.